Hello, online community. Thanks for joining us this evening. Hope everyone's night
Hey,
is
everybody.
going as fun as ours is. We're here today. I'm Russell Miller with Umpqua Feather Merchants, and on the top screen is Taylor Edrington with Royal Gorge Anglers, home on the Arkansas River here in Colorado. Welcome, Taylor.
Thanks so much, Russ. Good to be here, bud.
Yeah, you just had a couple good days fishing, it sounds like, on one of your ranches you guys have access to.
Yeah. So good little corporate run, and got to actually double down and get some good family time in the hills. Got some good hiking in up on the Rainbow Trail, checking out some of the high mountain lakes up there. So yeah, it's been a good couple days.
What a great time of year to be in Colorado, huh?
Can't beat it, man. Can't beat it. This is why we live here.
Absolutely. The spring's a pretty special time. You guys are really lucky to be where you're at, kind of tucked onto the Arkansas. You really get access to so much of the river. And I'm excited to hear more about that this evening, really from like running up towards the headwaters and all the high country access you guys have, all the way down into the flats, into the tailwater section. So super diverse fishery that I know that myself, as well as so many other folks, are just going to love hearing a little bit more about.
Yeah, man, really fortunate to live on the Arkansas Basin. So much water over here, not only the main stem of the Arkansas, which is, a world-renowned fishery, but, all the small drainages, all the tributaries, we've got the Arkansas tailwater, of course, which we'll talk about. And, really happy to be here tonight with you, Russ, and glad to spread some info for people.
Yeah, and for those of you guys that don't know, I'm probably a little too familiar with all the stuff that Taylor does, but Taylor has grown up within the fly fishing industry. He's probably spent more time on the water and behind the rock than most of us can imagine doing, and really and gotten to fish with some incredible names throughout the industry. So even though he's got a younger face and some young children, Taylor has certainly walked around the globe with a fly rod in hand. So we're really, really privileged to have him here speaking. So without further ado, Taylor, I'll kind of turn it over to you. And as you guys get set, or as Taylor gets set, I'd like to remind everybody that all of this information can be found after the fact on YouTube. And more importantly, Taylor and the rest of the Royal Gorge crew can be found online at royalgorgeanglers.com. And they are open for in-store shopping and guiding on all of the watersheds you're about to see here this evening. So it looks like he's ready to rip, so I'm going to turn it over.
Cool. Well, again, thanks so much, Russ and the Umpqua team. We really have a valuable connection with the Umpqua crew from our great, in-house reps, territory reps, good buddy of mine now at the national sales manager position. And, really just a fantastic company. We're proud to have a lot of Umpqua flies in our bins. I would say, of our just over 1,100, 1,150 patterns in the fly shop. We've probably got 75 to 80% Umpqua representation, which is really cool. And so, that's, just a testament to the quality of Umpqua flies and the fantastic designers you have on your team. we also, if you haven't been by our fly shop, and I'll talk a little bit about us when we get into the actual PowerPoint presentation, but we have a lot of really unique patterns for our watershed. We've got over 200 patterns that were designed in our region. So whether it be for the Arkansas Basin, the South Platte Basin, or our small tributaries. So definitely, if you haven't been to the fly shop, swing by to check that out. I think the bins will kind of wow you a little bit. We're proud to be a fly shop, and that's what we're about. So, without further ado, I'll kind of jump into talking about the Arkansas, and I'm going to switch screens here. So we're going to go to a full screen view of this PowerPoint presentation. And of course, we'll have questions at the end. So I'll get it kicked off. Enjoy.
Wonderful. Thank you. You guys who are watching across a variety of different platforms here, we're going to be gathering some of your
Okay, so we're talking about the mighty Arkansas tonight here, folks, and really pleased to be here with you. I've got about right at 40 minutes to make this presentation happen, and I give an extended version of this presentation at over 50 different clubs, fly fishing, show venues, etc. throughout the year, updated every year. But really taking a really historical look at conditions throughout the different seasons and how that affects bug life and how that affects where trout live during those seasons, where they find feeding lives, so on and so forth. So as we progress through this thing, we are going to do that by season. We're going to pay attention to the flow rate of the Arkansas in cubic feet per second. And I'm sure many of you will know that term. And then we're also going to take a look at water temp. Flow rate, water temp, and those time tables drive bug activity. And that also drives fish activity. So what we do as guides is all driven by water temp, flow rate, so on and so forth. And then, of course, having an educated perspective on bug life. So let's kind of dive into it. But before we do, of course, Russ gave me a great introduction. Really not here to talk about me, but I grew up in the industry, very fortunate to fish with a lot of great folks, great down to earth guides, anglers, authors in our industry. And, I've been in this industry my entire life. Really fortunate to have traveled the globe, in pursuit of some incredible species on the fly exclusively. And I also host a lot of travel every year. Used to host nearly 4 months of travel outside the U.S., be it saltwater, freshwater, etc. I've tuned that down. I now have 2 young boys here at home, an 18-month-old Cal, and Jack is just over 6 years old. So a lot of things to do here at the house, but still do travel a lot. Do about 6 weeks of hosted travel a year when I can, and spend a lot of time in Alaska guiding, so pretty well-rounded from the perspective of just overall experience in the industry, and so fortunate to get to spend time with great folks and clients throughout my guiding career. Also am a part of the Boulder Boat Works pro team. Fantastic boats that we run here on the Arkansas drainage. Really, no other drift boat can do what we do with those boats. Really fantastic team. Matt and Sean there in the Roaring Fork Valley now, and fantastic boats. Definitely need to get in one if you haven't had that experience yet. Also a member of the Hatch Pro staff team, have been for quite some time. Just fantastic company. But you know, at the fly shop, we saw a lot of high-end brands, a lot of well-respected brands. We've been doing this now 30 years. This year's our 30th anniversary. Just been a fantastic run. And we appreciate every single customer that walks through the door over the years. Many have become very, very true friends, and you know, just an incredible opportunity to call this, you know, our profession, to get to take people fishing. So stop by the fly shop. We're 2 miles west of Canyon City. We've got over 2,800 square feet there at the fly shop, over 8,000 products, both in store and online. And as Russ said, that's all available at www.royalgorgeanglers.com. And for all of you customers out there that really supported us in the month of April and into May online with online orders for flies, I mean, I can't tell you how many fly orders went out the door every day. Just thank you. You know, it's really, that support was incredible in a really tough situation. And now we're back at it guiding, you know, full head of steam and open at the fly shop. So do come by and visit us. So this is what we're going to cover tonight. And like I said, I really have to condense it because, you know, I'm taking about a 90-minute presentation and boiling it down into 40 minutes. So, you know, I'm going to really fly through some of this stuff. But the number one thing I want to tell you about is that this approach, this seasonal approach based on flow rate and water temperature, will apply to almost every major freestone river in the Southern Rockies. By freestone, I mean free-flowing, big gradient, rocky rivers, a lot of oxygen content. Those that aren't dammed. The Arkansas tailwater would be a tailwater. That's a bottom release dam fishery. And so when we're talking about this stuff early on in the presentation, we're talking about the Arkansas freestone, that unimpeded, free-flowing watershed. And so if you fish the Roaring Fork, if you fish the Rio Grande, if you fish the Colorado, many of these techniques and patterns and, you know, protocols will transfer seamlessly to those fisheries, maybe even the eagle. So, you know, do take these and put them in your hip pocket. These ideas, take them in and use them on other watersheds. And of course, come visit the Arkansas. We'd love to see you. It's a fantastic fishery, as you'll see here quickly. But that's just a snapshot of what we'll be covering. A little bit about the Arkansas. You know, the Arkansas. Sorry, guys. Go back to that. Just give you a snapshot statewide. So the Arkansas starts headwaters at Leadville and then flows easternly to the Mississippi, just under 1,500 miles from the headwater to the Mississippi. And we guide the first 150 or so miles of that watershed. And we really focus our efforts on the 102-mile gold medal section, which is the longest gold medal stretch of watershed in the state of Colorado. Comprises just over a third of the total gold medal miles in the state of Colorado of all rivers and watersheds. And that section starts at Lake Fork of the Arkansas, below Twin Lakes, and runs all the way to what we term Parkdale. And a lot of you will know Parkdale Bridge if you come by the Royal Gorge. That's where that section starts and then ends all the way up near Leadville. Just a giant stretch. And a lot of people ask, what does that mean? Well, it's a quality designation. So we have to have a certain number of fish over 14 inches in per acre in that section, and we have to have a certain weight of fish as well in that acre. And when I say acre, obviously acre can change based on the watershed you're talking about. So we use, instead of mile, to kind of make those calculations, we use acre because the river obviously changes. The riverbed gets wider, gets narrower, so on and so forth. So that's how we come up with those numbers. The Arkansas River data really crushes the requirements for gold medal. Just a fantastic area. Some fish from the Arkansas drainage there, and a beautiful shot in the fall on the bottom there. So one really cool thing to note as we go through this here, we are starting to introduce the Arkansas Basin is primarily a brown trout fishery on the Freestone, and right in between 80 and 90%, depending on the section you're in. More and more rainbows around Howard and Coaldale and what we term Upper Bighorn Sheep Canyon. However, the majority of the river is sustained brown trout fishery. Colorado Parks and Wildlife has kind of made it a goal of theirs to introduce a really strong rainbow trout population. And they are introducing what you see in the upper right there, which is the Gunnison River rainbow strain, which is a very, very hardy fish. CPW had played around with Hofer rainbows. Many of the larger rainbows that you catch on the Arkansas in the 16 to 20 plus inch range are Hofers. And what we found is they're just not as hardy. They're not as successfully reproducing strain. And so the Gunnison River rainbow, which if you fish the Gunnison or have spent any time on the upper Gunny Gorge, so on and so forth, that strain comes straight from the Gunny Gorge, and really a fantastic fish. Like I said, can really withstand, changing conditions and hot weather and cold weather and so on and so forth. So that being said, CPW has really made it a goal of theirs to get a really strong rainbow trout population, especially in Bighorn Sheep Canyon. And you will see more and more of these. There are going to be around 100 plus thousand of these guys stocked in especially the middle Bighorn Canyon section down through Canyon City. And so you're going to see more and more of these just beautiful, vibrant fish that are just an incredible sport fish. A lot of fun to catch on the fly. So quickly, I'm going to be showing a lot of patterns here as we go through, and a lot of my favorite patterns, guide flies that catch fish, flies that are effective on freestone drainages. What else is effective on freestone drainages? And European nymphing is very effective. We are one of those rivers that people come from around the country, around the globe, to Euro nymph, quote unquote, contact nymph, if you want to call it that. Of course, there are many, many different types of Euro nymphing and contact nymphing, and really the team at Umpqua is fantastic. You're not going to find more fly fishing team USA representatives and just professional European or contact nymphers in one place than at Umpqua Feather Merchants. They can tell you a lot more about this than I can. I really have fun Euro nymphing, and a lot of our team, our guide team at RGA Euro nymphs, just because it's so effective. And so I want to tell you just a brief snapshot at what Euro nymphing means, what that is, the basics. Okay, so a lot of you fish nymph rigs with strike indicators. Okay, and that indicator set at typically about twice the water depth, and then the first fly is positioned, typically running a split shot above the first fly with a secondary fly or a third fly below that, either rigging from the hook eye to the hook or the hook bend to the successive flies. And Euro nymphing, in a basic sense, is eliminating the indicator in a generic sense. No bobber, okay? And I don't want to piss anybody off when I say bobber, because we use them a lot to guide with, and we know they're very effective. But that we do use an indicator of sorts in a Euro nymphing system, and I'm going to show you this leader real quick. So the indicator used on a Euro nymphing setup is what we term sighter, SIGHTER. You can see that in the middle of the leader. And then we've got a heavier butt section up ahead of that 9-foot 0X, just in an example. We move that sighter material into the middle of the leader, so to speak, depending on conditions and what you're fishing. That sighter material, though, needs to be suspended right at the water's surface. Sometimes entering the surface, sometimes completely out of the surface, depending on what you're fishing. And then you make your calculations for the rest of that leader design to what we call the point fly, which is the bottom fly. These point flies, a lot of them that you're going to see in this presentation, are tied on jig hooks, because we want the top of that hook shank to fall, rotate, and ride on the bottom of the river with the hook point up. Just fouls less, snags the bottom less, and it's a very effective hook set on fish as well. So we take that point fly, we position it at the bottom of that leader, and then we subtract up to what we call our tag. And you'll see on that leader system that 4 to 6 inch tag there, which can be, calculated, based on what you're fishing, the weight of your tag fly, what velocity you're fishing, so on and so forth. So that's the basic concept of this leader system and this method. And the whole idea is that we're in contact with the fly. No slack, okay? Very little slack. I say no slack. We want a little bit of slack. We want a little bit of bow in that leader. We want to, as you'll see in my notes here, you want to lift and keep that rod high. I'm going to show the next photo because it kind of gives you a visual idea of what I'm talking about. But arm high, rod high, you're lifting and leading the fly while trying to keep a little bit of slack in that leader. Really, the only thing that's out is our leader, and we're in contact with the fly. This is so effective in high velocity, turbulent, gradient rivers, because what happens? You get that point fly down to the fish immediately. There's no guessing about it. With an indicator system, there's a lot of guessing involved, and we'd like to eliminate that. So in great, your larger freestone watersheds, from the weighting perspective, this is such an effective method. You're going to see more and more of these jig style, heavier weighted flies out there. If you come to our fly shop, we've got an entire case dedicated to Euro nymphing, and just an awesome method. Hope you'll want to learn more about this after just a snapshot. So moving into the seasons, okay, got to cover some ground here, working through the seasons, and we're going to start it here in the winter time period. Winter being on the Arkansas, typically, December, January, and February. It's a short season. Now, you may say, well, I know Leadville is really cold. Yeah, it is. It's one of the coldest places on Earth. But down where we're located in Canyon City, we're in the banana belt. Really very temperate area, great conditions. Even in the middle of the winter, we'll have fantastic, 50, mid 50s and 60-degree days that we can go out on a freestone and catch fish, which is really a great opportunity if you know freestones in Colorado. You'll see there in the upper right-hand corner that we've got 34 to 42 degree water temp. So a pretty good window. We see a lot of transition. If you've got a warmer day, you see warmer water conditions. If you've got a cooler day, obviously you're getting down towards that freezing point. There are ice flows in the winter, and there are areas that get ice jammed in the narrow parts of Bighorn Canyon upstream as you go towards Leadville from Browns Canyon up as well. One thing I will just spend a moment on is what we do with our water management program. You'll see 500 CFS steady in the winter time period. That's about twice what native would be. And what I mean by native is that would be the only water coming down without contribution from our contributing tail races. We are a freestone river. We're unimpeded, no dam, but we do have contributing tail races at Twin Lakes and Clear Creek reservoirs. Those reservoirs hold water from the Continental Divide down. We also have what's called the Fry Arc Project. From Rudai Reservoir, we bring water over through the Fry Arc Tunnel, store it on our side of the Continental Divide, really a revolutionary water movement system for the Front Range. Obviously, the Arkansas, puts a lot of water down in Pueblo Reservoir and downstream, obviously headed down east, but we fuel a lot of the water on the Front Range through the Arkansas. So hold a lot of water upstream in the winter typically, but we do release enough to keep water temperatures in a nice steady range. We don't want a lot of up and down. We want it nice and steady in that 34 to 42 degree range for our trout population. And, we also are moving some water downstream to make room for the next spring snowmelt. Okay. So where do the fish live in the winter season? Where do they feed? They're in post-spawn feeding lines. And if you heard me earlier, you heard me talk about us being a majority brown trout population. And, fish are deep, and we fish a lot of caddis larvae, a lot of midge larvae in the winter. Okay. Fish aren't going to move a lot to take a fly in the winter. They're lethargic. Okay. So we want to fish these larvae, and we want to really dissect deeper tail outs and deeper holding lies. We're using, these midge patterns, medallion midge, great midge pupa. That's Pat Dorsey's, the ICU midge in the upper left. That's a great larva. We do a lot of work with that here. Barr's uncased caddis. John Barr, really great friend of mine, fantastic angler, great designer, Umpqua team member. One of my favorite free swimming caddis larvae. My brother-in-law, also an Umpqua designer, Shay Gunkel, just a fantastic and really visionary designer. This is his roller caddis, which was designed for the Arkansas, just a fantastic pattern. Then we, moving out of the winter time period here relatively quickly in February, we move into a time period that still ushers a lot of the same conditions. You'll see that the water temperature in the middle lower section is still right around the same window, getting a little bit warmer, but we're losing a little bit of water because we like to reduce release out of Twin Lakes and Clear Creek Reservoir in anticipation of what we call the brown trout fry emergence. That's when our baby brown trout fry emerge and find areas of least resistance. We found, over the years that that spawning is much more productive if we have lower flows. So we start to see those reduced. And then we start to see something magical happen. We start to see the instar phase start in our golden stone population. So we go from fishing midges and caddis larvae, maybe stonefly nymphs, to fishing stonefly nymphs heavily. And that instar phase is a phase where our exoskeleton, the exoskeleton of the stonefly, changes in composition. It hardens, softens, hardens, softens. It goes from light to dark and light to dark. And so we fish a variety of colors. John Barr's tongue teaser, a great dark pattern, just a fantastic producer on our river. We also have Charlie Craven's newer pattern, the 2-bit stone, which is just one of my favorite guide flies. Heavy, durable, just a fantastic pattern. Hats off to you, Charlie, on that one. And then a Euro nymphing fly. So we talk about those Euro nymphing flies wanting them to be on a jig style hook to keep that hook point up, keep that hook shank down, riding correctly. And that's a 20-incher, which is a very old school pattern, stonefly pattern, attractor pattern, and one of my favorites. Another Euro nymphing representation for our stoneflies, and that's called the jig stone, an Umpqua pattern. Really a slider profile fly, gets down quickly, cuts through the water. Just a fantastic fly to get down to the fish. So then, as you know, the stonefly molt really kind of kicks into gear, and what that does is it just really kind of allows the trout to hit reset. They go from, in the wintertime, being in that post-spawn feeding lie to becoming very, very active, even at colder water temperatures. Because those stoneflies are crawling, they're active, they're in that instar phase. Those fish see that as an opportunity to gain calories back from a wintertime period where they just, there's not a lot of opportunity. And so we roll straight into the molt phase, and then we roll into just a magical time period on our river. And many of you that fish the Arkansas in the months of March and early April know this period well. It's what we call the sleeper hatch. Got to take a little scotch break real quick. By the way, Macallan, 15-year-old, that's what I'm drinking. Best stuff in the world. Obviously love an 18 or a 21 if anybody's buying a bottle for me. You can send that to the fly shop. Attention, Taylor. Moving into the sleeper hatch, a fantastic time period to fish our river because we've just got a prolific amount of bug activity. You've got the molting stoneflies. You've got an really just enormous blue-winged olive population in the Arkansas, which hasn't always been the case, but really in the last 15 years, we've seen just a dramatic increase in BWOs. And, as you can see here in the middle bottom, we're again looking at about 350 CFS flow rate, sometimes less than that. We were even lower than that this year. And for that brown trout fry emergence and rainbow trout spawning. And we've got water temperature rising steadily. Now we're seeing, daytime highs in near the, low to mid 60s in Canyon City and in the 50s upstream. Even the headwaters getting some really nice days towards Leadville. What you want for mayflies is clouds and drizzle. We all know that. We want rainy conditions. We want cloud cover. We want that low light. That's what these bugs love for prolific hatches, okay? If we get that, and we get that around the middle of March, we're going to have big, big hatches on a daily basis at about 11 a.m., late morning, and about 3 p.m. You can almost time it on your watch. The bigger hatches usually in the afternoon. The reason being that usually we see more consistent water temperature in the afternoon, but all of it really drives from that overcast condition. That's what we need, so even if you see a snowstorm in the forecast, not a big one, you don't want to travel in a big snowstorm, but you want flurries and you want overcast conditions. That's what you want for BWOs if you're a dry fly angler. If you're not, you can fish nymphs and just crush them all day long. This was just one of the best March time periods and early April time periods this year. Man, the BWO fishing was just phenomenal. This is Shea Gunkel, again, my brother-in-law, just a very talented tyer. This is his shot glass betas, shot glass BWO, in a purple. Why purple, you ask? It's the most visible color in the light spectrum to fish, okay? I want visible, visible, visible. I want the exact profile of the bug, but I want something, man, that it stands out to the fish, okay? Purple is a great color to do that. Emerger category, Greg Garcia's Darth Betas. Another newer fly, fantastic fly. Batwing emerger, just one of my tried and true guide flies, fishes just day in, day out. That CDC wing creates a nice air envelope in that thorax, just fantastic pattern. And then into the dry fly category in the adult. This is Ken Morsh's Mayday. This is a newer pattern to Ken's. Ken's with the fly shop in Redding, California, just a fantastic fly. There's some blue wings in Lower Bighorn Canyon on the water. That's what your blue wing kind of looks like. This is Juan Ramirez's Slim Shady, one of our guides, Hopper Juan, very, very talented designer as well. Again, that's the Slim Shady, and that's the real thing right next to it on the left. Perdigon. For you Euro nymphers, this is a great BWO as a point fly, you know, in a Euro nymphing rig. Gets down, it's very slight profile, very durable. Then we move into the very well-known time period on the Arkansas. Not necessarily the best time period. I mean, it's fantastic fishing, but everybody always used to say Mother's Day, Mother's Day, Mother's Day, caddis hatch on the Arkansas. It's a great time period to fish the river. BWOs are still there. Caddis are just going nutso, but it's not Mother's Day. You got to remember that. This bug, the Brachycentrus occidentalis, was named Mother's Day caddis on the East Coast. Has nothing to do with the hatch in Colorado. Tax day. That's when you got to start thinking caddis. That hatch will start around tax day on the Arkansas in Canyon City and move upstream as water temperature increases. You can see there on the slide, 45-degree plus water temp, 450 CFS. Okay, we start to see a little more release in anticipation of snowmelt. That's fine. Brown trout fry emergence is done. Rainbow trout fry emergence is done, or rainbow trout spawning is done. So file your taxes, hit the river, get ready, okay? Those last 2 weeks of April are always the most magical weeks of fishing in the springtime because of BWO activity and that added caddis activity. If you wait till Mother's Day, the middle of May, there are times, and you know freestones in Colorado, if you fish this area, that we've got snowmelt and off-color water, okay? So you want to be there in late April. Egg layers are king. You're gonna hear why. Here's the life cycle. Got the egg layer at position 1, dropping, ovipositing. He actually rips that entire body off in the ovipositing. Comes down to the larva. These are case builders, Brachycentrus, case building caddis. Okay, they build that case at position 7. They emerge. When caddis emerge, they explode to the surface. They've got big wings. You've seen them. Okay, when that wing case pops, it explodes and it propels that fly to the surface dramatically. It's not like a BWO that can drift for miles while it's hatching. Okay, so when we fish caddis, we want to swing them hard in the emergent stage, the pupa. We want to make that movement known to fish, okay? It's a dramatic swing. That's why many times when I'm guiding clients, we're walking up the river, they've got their line in the water, leader in the water, dragging that caddis pupa behind them. Man, trout just hammers it right at the surface, okay? They're looking for emergers at position 8, trapped in the surface. They explode, but then a lot of times they get trapped, okay? And then you've got position 9, the adult, and position 10, when they're mating in the willows, males and females, and then in position 11 again, completing the life cycle at the ovipositing egg layer, okay? This is your caddis larva, Larry Kingery's metallic caddis larva. Fantastic fly. Juan Ramirez's kryptonite. This is one of my go-to caddis pupa or emerger in a weighted form. And then this is the tried and true granddaddy caddis emerger, caddis pupa. This is Gary LaFontaine's deep sparkle pupa. Missing link, great adult, slight profile, clown shoe. This is my egg-laying caddis and just a fantastic fly. Okay, they eat egg layers heavy because they come back at low light. Fish like to eat at low light. Okay, they like it when the sun's low or there's overcast. That's when they like to eat on top. Otherwise, they like to eat subsurface. You got to remember that as an angler. No matter where you fish, tailwater, freestone, doesn't matter. Front end loader, great attractor caddis. Then the rubber hatch happens, big runoff. That's what we're in right now. 2,700 CFS today. It may peak around 3,000. It's going to come back. We're going to be fishing the edges by June 10th this year. It's going to happen quick. Okay, maybe June 15th. Great time to go backcountry. Then fishing in a barrel happens. Okay, this is one of the fantastic time periods. Mid-June, late June, typically the edges are clearing. And what happens? Okay, when runoff happens, when the water gets high velocity in the middle of the current tongue, where do all the fish go? They go to the edges. Okay, and that's where we find them when the water starts to recede. They're within 6 to 10 feet of the bank. That's where the edge, where the river clears first, on the edges. And what happens to be happening at the same exact time? Stoneflies are hatching. Chubby Chernobyl should be in your arsenal. That's a royal color, but here's the whole gamut, and there's a dozen more colors from Umpqua. You got the golden stone color that I love, that golden body on the left. Red's a great attractor color. Purple's great, very visible. The key to that chubby fly is that it's visible. When I guide people, they need to see the fly if they're going to catch fish. That's the key. Psycho Prince, fantastic fly. Kelly Gallup, Sex Dungeon, and numerous other streamers are very effective during this time period. We've still got 2,000 CFS in the river, usually, sometimes 1,000 CFS on a low water year. So it's very variable, but you just got to walk the edges. You walk the edges moving upstream with a dry dropper, big dry, golden stone representation, chubby dry dropper, and then throw a streamer on and work back down, cover water. This is called a butt monkey. Great streamer. Bennett's Lunch Money series, enough said. One of my favorite series of streamer patterns. Great job, Mike. Then summer prime time comes, and that just means a lot of bugs, okay? A lot of yellow. We got a lot of stoneflies. We've got PMDs. We've got tricos. We've got hoppers, yellow sallies. This is yellow sally nymph, okay? Water temps are rising, but flows are dropping. There's your yellow sally. Never sink sally, foam sally, great indicator fly. PMD, this is Juan Ramirez's split back slim shady, fantastic fly. Larry Kingery's biot body PMD, one of my favorite dropper flies in a dry dropper rig. Split flag, great PMD. Lots of caddis, a lot of tan sedges in the summer. There's the Perdigon again. Heavy, nice dropper fly off a dry. You can nymph it as well. Yellow is key in summer prime time. In summer prime time, we're talking July and early August. Then we kind of move into hopper dropper season. It can all mesh together, but water, flows are dropping below 1,000 CFS and water temp's fantastic. Still in the great range. We've got monsoon activity, cools down in the afternoon. Still want to fish early and late. If you want to fish a dry or a dry dropper, that's when fish look up. Everybody asks what my dropper depth is. It depends on the sunlight. It depends on how high the sun is in the sky. If I've got low light conditions, overcast, I can run a short dropper on a dry dropper, hopper dropper. If, the sun's high, I go deep. Hopper Juan, party animal. Andrew Grillos, you're the man. That fly is money in the bank. Thunder Thighs hopper, another just great lifelike hopper pattern. Pool toy, okay. Guide's Choice Hare's Ear. Take a note, my number one dropper fly, any type of nymph, period. Put it on a jig hook if you like to Euro nymph. Guide's Choice Hare's Ear. Number one fly in the summer, period. CDC pheasant tail. We catch a lot of fish during hopper dropper season. A lot of fish, 2 on 1 rig, double up, okay? We like to catch 2 fish at once, you know, on the Arkansas. It's a great time to do it. Hopper dropper season. Then we move into the fall. Fall is fantastic. We've got a lot of drakes now. We think a lot of those drakes came through the Fry Arc Tunnel. Didn't used to have a lot of drakes, but now we do. Water temps are warmish, so you gotta, you know, early and late. It's the way things need to be, even as we move into the fall. Water flows are getting lower, wading's getting easier, red quills are on scene, and the Baetis are back too. This is Film Critic. Bob Quigley's Film Critic. Mike Lawson's extended body green drake, just a fantastic fly, one of my favorites. Here's a drake nymph. It's called a Nanatome. Fish it a lot in that hare's ear color in the fall, in August, September. Great red quill pattern here. This is Shag Uncle's Radiation Baetis in a copper orange color. High vis spinner, red quills. I like to fish red quills on spinner falls primarily. 2-bit hooker, Perdigon in purple. Low water Baetis, Tricos. Streamer time, anytime. Go tandem, 2 flies, big up front, small underneath, okay? Force swing if you're waiting, or pound the banks if you're out of a boat. Circus Peanut. Again, Bennett's Lunch Money series. Thin Mint, better than a woolly booger. And then Takahashi's Mini Minnow. We've got great maps on our website. I've got about 3 minutes to finish this up. Great maps on our website, check them out. But I want to show you a snapshot of the river before we go to Q&A. Start at the headwater at Leadville, and then move what we call through the numbers after we clear Twin Lakes and Clear Creek. Those are our 2 contributing tail races that I talked about. We go into the numbers, which is a great whitewater area, then the Wild Horse Canyon section through Buena Vista, some fantastic access through Buena Vista. Moving on down, we've got Browns Canyon below BV, and then we move down, through Browns Canyon. We then enter the Salida area. Fantastic access at the bottom of Browns Canyon or the top of Browns Canyon to access that. And just a fantastic area to get away from people. Salida area, a lot of great access there. Obviously through town it gets hammered a little bit like it does in Canyon City. But then once you, here just real quick on Browns Canyon National Monument, 21,000 acres, fantastic area. You know, like I said, quick snapshot of that. Kyle Perkins used to be with Colorado TU. Just a gorgeous section. Great place to get away from people. Then we move into Bighorn Canyon, which is just a great. I mean, public access is unbeatable there. The highway runs the river, but great seclusion on the river. Fantastic fishing. And then we reach Canyon City, the Royal Gorge, the world famous bridge. We're located right on US 50 at that red star. So stop by to see us. Big river, 102 miles of gold medal water. Arkansas tailwater, fantastic. Just a great fishery, but could be an entirely new presentation. Do want to take just 1 minute to talk about it. We are floating this section now, which is just incredible. 3,000 CFS today and floating this. These fish are just phenomenal at high water. They eat dries, they eat streamers, we nymph them. We fish boulder boats, like I said, fantastic product. Shows you a little bit about the annual flow rate on the Arkansas tailwater. Obviously on the flat curve, ends of the curve on either side, that's when you like to wade. But when people stop wading, we like to float it. And just, quality is unbelievable on this tailwater, and one of the best tailwaters in the winter to take advantage of. So close to the Front Range. Just one of the very, very special places in Colorado as well. If you have any more questions on the tailwater, check out my chapter in 50 Best Tailwaters to Fly Fish by Wendy and Terry Gunn. Wrote that chapter for them. You can find that on Amazon. Check out our website, rollgorgeanglers.com. Okay. And on October 3rd, we'll see you at the Fly Shop. Biggest festival of the year, 30th anniversary. We're going to make this an awesome shindig. Stop by. We'll have stream side classes. We'll have much more. Okay. I'm going to kick it back over. We're going to answer some questions. And I hope you enjoyed that. Please shoot any questions you have also to info@royalgorgeanglers.com. All right. Whew. Russ, I can't hear you, buddy. Can you type me a question? Can you hear me? Best resource for public access and favorite section. So check out our website at rollgorgeanglers.com. We have a fantastic interactive map on both our interactive maps link at the very bottom of the homepage or at the top of the homepage. And that interactive map is supplied by the Arkansas Headwater Rec Area. Fantastic section, or fantastic map that will show you all of those access sections, public access sections. And then my favorite section, Browns Canyon, is really hard to beat. If you can dedicate the time to getting in there, and it's really not difficult, but you want to do it at lower water. If you're wading, you can obviously float it. Just unbelievable section away from people. And those fish just don't see the fly much. Yep. Next question. What size stones? So golden stones are going to be in that size 8 through 14 range primarily. Of course, you want your darker stones, your lighter golden stones. We also have Terra Narcissus in the Arkansas. Those are size 2 through 4 typically, up to size 6. Okay. Those hatch in late June with the golden stones and kind of hatch through the month of July as well. And then we've got Yellow Sallies, obviously, which are our micros, and so a variety of stoneflies. In general, size 10, 12, 14, dark and gold, you're golden. Next question. Favorite section, I kind of just said Browns Canyon, one of my favorites, but Bighorn Canyon's amazing too, and that's great access, Browns though, man, go fish Browns if you haven't fished it. National Monument, nobody in there, great hiking, great wildlife viewing, sheep, goats, waterfowl. Okay. Next question. Let's get through a couple more maybe. So my father, Bill Edrington, who I learned everything from, him and a few others. He's got a book called Fly Fishing the Arkansas. It's now out of print. We're working on a Generation 2, Volume 2. And then we also have our chapter in 50 Best Tailwaters to Fly Fish on the Arkansas Tailwater. So that is available to you. And a lot of fantastic, I've really been more on the video rich media and on our website at our interactive learning area at royalgorgeanglers.com. There's so much there. So we're working on a second gen book, but a lot of stuff to learn on our website at royalgorgeanglers.com. Next question. Well, should I be ignoring the tailwaters this time of year? If you're waiting, yes, it's big. It's, you don't want to weight it. It's not effective to weight it. The fish are tucked up under vegetation on the edges, and really the only way to get at it is to float it. So until it comes under really 800 CFS, that's when you can effectively weight it and get at them on foot. If you're floating it, then you can float it, but you really got to know your put in and take out, and that's very difficult. So next question. Yellow sallies typically start around the 1st of July, but sometimes earlier. So we could see them if runoff subsides earlier, which it should. We're about 2 weeks ahead of schedule, I believe, on runoff this year. We should probably see yellow sallies around the 3rd week of June. My guess. One last question, maybe? Any other questions we can answer before we go? We're about to get cut off, maybe. Salmon flies, Pteronarcis still are there. Yes. They are hatching. They are reproducing. Just not the numbers that you see on the Colorado. We lost the Pteronarcis way back in the day from the heavy metal and heavy mineral deposits from mining up at the headwater. After the Superfund cleanup, everything's really come back dramatically. Obviously, longest gold medal river in North America, but the salmon flies will be kind of slowly turning back into a thing. We may stock more down the line. I haven't heard from Colorado Parks and Wildlife on that, but so many golden stones, it really doesn't matter. One more, maybe? Okay. We're out of time. Thanks so much, folks. Have a great evening. Visit us at royalgorgeanglers.com and support Umpqua Feather Merchants. They are awesome. Great team.